Well, thank you so much for joining us here on The Full View. Now, former Parktown Boys water polo coach has been found guilty of 144 charges of sexual assault and 12 charges of assault. Collan Rex initially faced over 300 charges relating to rape, sexual grooming and attempted murder. Judge Peete Johnson delivered his judgment at the South Gauteng High Court sitting in Palmridge. And our reporter Mahlako Komane, she's been covering this court case and joins us now. Thanks so much for coming through. Now, firstly, what was the scene like at the court today? Because I can imagine many parents made their way there in anticipation of what would happen. So what were the scenes like?
Well, today we saw the Youth League who came out also to protest and just picket outside the court to show their support and obviously their displeasure at what took place at Parktown. There were parents, not as full as we saw when their children were testifying. Definitely it was a lot of parents were obviously unhappy with some of the charges, as you would know that Collan was facing 110 charges of attempted murder. This were then watered down to the 12 charges of common assault, simply because the judge was saying that the learners could not give an exact account of how many times the incident had occurred. That was something that he did point out in his judgment, saying that he cannot convict or he cannot pass down judgment on this happened perhaps roughly 10 times, though that's not how the court works.
So, Mahlako, initially, Collan Rex was facing 327 counts, but pleaded guilty to 144 of those counts and assault against 12 boys as opposed to 23 boys who actually laid complaints. Now, Rex claimed that he was wrongfully implicated by some of these boys. Was that in any way amplified during the court proceedings?
Well, what happened is we initially on Tuesday, we saw that a couple of the charges were then dropped because the boys did not come. There were a couple of boys that did not come in to testify. And one of his defenses was that because some of these incidences had taken place within the swimming pool area, his defense was that water polo is a very aggressive sport. There will be incidences when you will pull your opponent by the costume, by the speedo, to try and get advantage over your opponent. Those are one of the defenses that he used, that in such incidences it's most likely could happen that you could potentially touch the private parts of somebody. That even the judge was in his delivering of his judgment, he did also mention that water polo is rather an aggressive sport and a very physically intense sport. So that did help him somewhat in his case. And also, it was very unfortunate that because these incidences obviously happened a couple of years back, that the memory of the boys was obviously, with time and the years having gone by, wasn't as strong as the judge would have liked, saying that he felt that some of the things that they testified to, there was one witness that he said the witness spoke of a shameless lie. One particular witness who had accused Rex of saying that he had inserted his finger up the bum, saying that the child was unable to identify the difference between the anal and the bum, saying that at 14 years old, a child should obviously be able to know the difference of the human anatomy.
It must have all been very emotive, but also just looking at the charges of attempted murder. Now, some of the mothers at least spoke about how their children were choked and how some of them passed out, almost passed out in certain instances. With regard to what the judge handed down, what came of the attempted murder charges?
Those attempted murder charges that I said earlier, that there were 110 of them initially that he faced. They went down a bit on Tuesday because he was acquitted of some of them because they were not tested. Nobody came to testify on them. But then what he then said was that he would then convert all, let's say one boy had 10 charges, for example, he would convert that to assault. That's how we got to the 12 charges of assault, because he said that the state could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Rex had the intention to kill those boys, because the onus rests on the state to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt that the intention of the accused was that he wanted to kill them. But then he also spoke to assault GBH and saying that the state also could not prove that it was so serious that he could water it down to a charge of assault GBH, but rather he would take the charge down to assault, and that's how we landed it with those charges. And he was also saying that one thing I think we should mention that the judge did say in passing down his judgment was the fact that he felt that Rex was rather credible witness, that he felt that because he had admitted to the 144 charges, there was no reason for him, he could not see a reason for him to lie. He also further said that Rex was also quite a credible and a sound and a truthful witness, meaning that he could not find anything untoward with his testimony. He also said that even on accounts when it did not favor him, he simply was honest with his account of what happened.
And just finally, has the date for sentencing been set?
The date for sentencing is supposed to be on Monday, but we are waiting the report of the probation officer, which then could possibly move us to a sentencing later on during the week.
Our reporter, Mahlako Komane, thanks so much for that update on the Parktown Boys story. And Francis also, of course, discussing this and the broader issue of boys' safety and, of course, the secrecy that goes on at some of these single-sex schools. So we wait on Monday to see what exactly the sentencing will be that will be handed down to Collan Rex. Now,